strike you about that response? Was that polite? Was there a greeting or a closing or a thank you for this opportunity? There was no enthusiasm, no politeness. Let me tell you how I haven't even met this student. And do you think I'm going to be giving him a very positive interview at this point? So he wanted his expediency in his response. It got in the way of his proper answer. So listen to this email that I got, the exact same email I wrote to someone else. It was a different interviewee. And she wrote, I said the same thing. I'm looking forward to your reply. Warm regards, Kimberly Kaur. Hi, Ms. Kaur. I hope you've had a great weekend and a survivable Monday. I would love the chance to interview. Would Thursday work? I'm available anytime that day. Thanks a ton, Rebecca. You see the difference in that response? Way better. Way better. Okay. Throughout this whole process, you have to remember, you want something from me, okay? You want me to write you a good recommendation. So every interaction you have with me should be respectful and deferential. It doesn't mean being stuffy or unnatural. You should be yourself, but remember there's a power dynamic in play and respect that accordingly. Okay, you want something from me, and it doesn't matter if I'm a college interviewer or a job interviewer or an internship interviewer. You want something from me, so you need to act appropriately and behave in that way. Okay, your interviewer should have suggested that you meet someplace public, like I mentioned meeting at the Starbucks coffee shop. Okay, this could be at your interviewer's workplace, or it could be at a coffee shop, could be at a restaurant or a library, but it does not mean meeting at your home or at her home. Okay, it's highly unlikely that anything bad is going to happen during these interviews, but it's better to be safe to conduct these interviews in a public place. Remember, this is a formal interview. This is not just a chat with a neighbor. Okay, if you're interviewing via video, it's not going to be a concern. But if you're being asked to interview, it needs to be done in a public place, and that's for both of your safety and just the respect for the interview that's taking place. So expect the interview to last about 30 to 45 minutes. You can prepare a resume, but that's optional. Some students bring me their CV. That's helpful when I'm trying to recap the interview in my write-up, but I really don't think it's necessary, and I quite frankly don't really look at it. If you're using what I'm telling you for a job interview, of course you need to bring a copy of your CV. But for a college interview, it's not really necessary. Okay, so you responded politely, you responded enthusiastically, you have the date, you have the location set. All you need to do is wait for the date to roll around, right? Not quite. Like any successful applicant, preparatory research is needed. Okay, begin by doing research on your interviewer. This should be research-based and not creepy-based, okay? Discover what you can find out about your interviewer online. Does she have special interests? Are there causes she supports? Has she written papers or is she presented at conferences? Can you find out about what her relationship is with her school? A great resource for this is LinkedIn. Okay, are you all familiar with LinkedIn? Okay, LinkedIn is, most U.S. professionals have a LinkedIn profile. It's a great recap of what your interviewer has accomplished professionally and what their interests are. So some profiles are more extensive than others, but many times you can get at least some information from their profile. LinkedIn shows me when someone has looked at my profile. So if I saw that a student I was getting ready to interview had looked at my profile, I would be impressed. I would think the student's really doing their homework. You can try getting information about your interviewer from her Facebook page, but this does Facebook tends to be a little more personal, and it might be a little more intrusive to your interviewer if you talk about things that you learned from her Facebook. You know, in the United States, we look at Facebook as being very personal. We connect with one another on Facebook with our friends, and we connect on LinkedIn with colleagues. Okay, so LinkedIn is a little more formal and probably more appropriate. Twitter is another good resource, but it's hard to learn anything substantive through just a bunch of short tweets. Snapchat and Instagram, they're also social media sites you could look at, but really in the business world, LinkedIn is the king. So you're going to use the information that you've learned about your interviewer while you're at the interview, and we'll cover that in just a bit. So in addition to researching a little bit about your interviewer, you definitely want to get up to speed on your school. There should be no excuse for you not knowing the basics about your school, especially when it comes time to asking questions of your interviewer. The last thing you want to do is to ask your interviewer a question where the answer is very accessible on the school website. So research the areas you're interested in. Be able to talk about programs or research studies or even the infrastructure of the school. Expand your research outside of areas of study and be knowledgeable about the school's sports teams, music programs, fine arts, theater, or volunteer opportunities. Have a passing knowledge, at least, about the name of the school newspaper or the campus radio station or TV station. You won't be expected to know every little detail about the school, but being able to throw in some details here and there about the school, it tells the interviewer you have done the research and you have prepared for the interview. It's less about what you know and more about the message that you're sending to the interviewer that you respect her time by coming fully prepared to your meeting. Again, this is so important in the job market as well. Know your target. The very first question I ask a prospective hire is, tell me what you know about MDG. I want to know, tell me what you know about MDG, my company. So if they don't even know what my company's initials stand for, I'm certainly not going to be that interested. Do we have any questions if I stop here? Any questions? All right, so you've responded to your invitation to interview promptly, politely, and enthusiastically. You've set a public date, meeting, and time, and you've done all the necessary research. The day arrives, and it's go time. What to wear? Your interviewer may give you some guidelines, but if not, plan to be casual but neat. It's not necessarily to dress formal or in a coat and tie, but please look respectful and presentable for your interviewer. Dress like you're going to a friend's house for a nice dinner or over to your grandmother's house. You're a student. You're not expected to look like you're entering the workforce just yet. Be on time or be early. Punctuality is vital. You will feel calmer, you'll be more relaxed and prepared if you allow yourself plenty of time to find the location, park, take public transportation, allow for delays, or get yourself situated prior to the arrival of your interviewer. We have a saying, 5 minutes early is 10 minutes late. So, go figure that. Okay. Don't bring your parents, okay? Don't bring your parents. If you must bring your parents because they are driving you or they are concerned for your safety, keep them out of the way of the interview and certainly out of earshot. You are about ready to embark upon a grown-up experience. And if you can't manage to hold a conversation with the interviewer without the aid and assistance of your parents, then you're not ready to attend college. Okay, I know your parents want you to do their very best and they have your best interests at heart, but self-sufficiency is a hallmark of success in the United States. You might have heard the term helicopter parents who hover around their children. This is not a compliment in the United States. You will not be seen in a favorable light if your parents are overly involved. Tell mom and dad, thank you, you love them, they've given you roots, now it's time to give you wings. So assuming you've given yourself plenty of time to arrive at the interview site, you most likely are going to be there first. When the interviewer arrives, you must stand up to greet them. This is a courtesy that is expected whether your interviewer is a man or a woman. You look your interviewer in the eye, you smile, you shake hands firmly and confidently, but not painfully. Introduce yourself, thank them for meeting with you, and then be seated. You might be wondering what you'd call your interviewer, what you call me during your interview. Unless you're asked to call me by something else, you should reference my last name, Ms. Kaur. Or Dr. Kaur, if I'm a PhD or a medical doctor. In the United States, we say Ms. We don't say Miss, and we don't say Mrs. necessarily. It's safest for women, if you don't know if they're married or not, to just say Ms. Kaur. Most Americans are pretty informal, so if you start out calling me Ms. Kaur, I might just end up saying to you, oh, just call me Kimberly. That's fine. Then that's fine to start calling me Kimberly at that point, but don't make any assumptions ahead of time. It's okay to have a drink. Especially if you're meeting in a coffee shop, it's part of the price of using their facility to hold their interview. Coffee, water, tea, or soda, all of those are okay. Eating, however, is not okay. Do not plan to eat anything during your interview, although eating ahead of time is encouraged to keep your energy up and to help with nervousness. Gum chewing is also strictly forbidden. Keep everything out of your mouth that could be distracting, okay? If you smoke, and I highly encourage you to give that habit up. Make sure your last cigarette is well in advance of your interview. You don't want to smell like an ashtray to your interviewer. Okay? In the United States, smoking is generally looked down upon. Interviewers will generally make judgments about your intelligence, fairly or not, if they think you're a smoker. Okay, so not necessarily, most people don't smoke in the United States, and they don't necessarily think highly of people who do. So if you're going to smoke, or if you are a smoker, just make sure you get it done well in advance of your interview. Lastly, do yourself a favor and put your phone away or turn it off. Okay, you don't want to be distracted by vibrating notifications or chimes or alerts. Your focus is on the interview and the interviewer. So out of respect to your interviewer, never check your phone during your interview. Okay, this is highly insulting to your interviewer, who will feel like, rightly so, that you have more important things to do than to give your full attention to the interview and the time and effort of the interviewer. Okay, so now the interview begins. Relax. It's a conversation, not a presentation. Okay, you are there to talk with your interviewer, to tell them a little bit about yourself. Tell them why you'd be a good candidate to attend the school, to learn about the school, and to clarify in your mind and in your interviewer's mind why you might be successful at that school. Keep the conversation focus top of mind. This should be enjoyable. For the most part, your interviewer is going to be very enthusiastic about the school they're representing. They want you to feel that excitement as well. Your interviewer will be genuinely interested in learning about you. They want to hear your story. I love listening to people. I love hearing their stories and finding out the things that make people unique. Remember, your interviewer is not trying to say gotcha, or it's a trap, or trying to trick you into answering questions the wrong way. The premise of this conversation is it's upbeat, it's friendly, it's relaxed. Okay, be aware that your interviewer may take notes. This is normal. They may be jotting down phrases, thoughts, or impressions they have about you that will help them in writing up their interview later. They could be doing this in a computer, or they could be doing this on a notebook. I know it can be disconcerting when you say something and you see them immediately write it down. You're thinking, what did I just say? Try not to worry yourself with what they're writing down. Concentrate on the questions they're asking and the answers you're giving. So it can be difficult for your interviewer to maintain eye contact with you while they're writing notes. So be aware of that as well. Just continue answering your questions, even if you feel like you don't have their full attention. Like I can tell I don't have all your full attention right now, and I'm continuing to go. I did ask them. They weren't interested. No. So, any questions in the meantime? There we go. Okay. So be yourself. Don't try and second guess what you think I want your answer to be. Answer naturally. Most likely, the interviewer is not going to have any access to your application. They're not going to have any information about you other than your name, your current school, and your contact information. So you're a blank slate to your interviewer, unlike they are to you. If you've done your research ahead of time, that interview is not a blank slate to you. So it's important that you answer honestly and let your personality shine through. Whether you're outgoing or introverted, whether you're active or staid, whether you're funny or dry, you be you. Okay? It's okay to talk about things that are uniquely Indian to your American interviewer. This is where you live. This is who you are. So to that end, feel free to reference Indian cultural ideas, your education system, your programs, your media, everything that's unique to India. Just be ready to explain unfamiliar terms or ideas to your interviewer, or associate your vocabulary with something that your interviewer will understand. For instance, many times the educational system is very different from country to country. School grades and terminology may differ. So it would be helpful if you're referencing a school year level to equate it with American terms. For instance, in the United States, 9th grade is generally the first year of high school, and 9th graders are called freshmen. 10th graders are called sophomores, 11th graders are juniors, and 12th graders are seniors. So it's the same in college too. They use that same terminology, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, to represent the 4 years that are spent at the university. So in answering your questions, tell stories. Everybody loves to hear stories. It's so much more interesting than reciting a bunch of facts and statistics. So, strive for that tone in your responses to the questions. Don't be long-winded, don't tell convoluted stories, but if I'm asking you to tell me about the class that inspires you the most, presenting a detail such as that one particular lecture or that one particular assignment, how that influenced you, is much more interesting than talking about why you like chemistry because you like learning about atoms. Okay, questions so far? At my school, there are 3 areas that we are scrutinizing and evaluating based on you and your answers. We're looking for depth and commitment, intellectual vitality, and character and self-presentation. Those are the only 3 areas that we're asked to rate about you, and then we provide additional context as to our ratings. So I'll go into detail on these so you know what I'm talking about. Depth and commitment. What is your level of accomplishment, engagement, and energy? Do you have breadth, depth, passion in your pursuits? We want to see serious dedication to your extracurricular activities, including hobbies, work research, volunteer work, and internships. Intellectual vitality. Are you curious and passionate? Do you show original thought process? Do you show maturity and self-discipline in completing projects outside of what has been assigned to you at school? Do you take responsibility for how you manage your own learning process? And character and self-presentation. What are you going to add to your school's community? Do you show integrity, confidence, teamwork, strength of character, resilience, concern for others, a sense of humor, good communication skills? Your answers should try and reflect these goals as much as possible. Provide confident answers, but remember to be yourself. Don't feel like you have to give a convoluted answer just to make sure you hit all these areas. For instance, when I ask you to tell me about a favorite book you've just read, I don't want to hear that you've just enjoyed the book your literature teacher assigned you last year. I want to understand what intellectual curiosity you showed outside of your school assignments. Show me that you were intellectually engaged in pursuits outside of school, or that you take the extra steps to expand your mind. And in case you were thinking, oh, I'm a scientist, or I'm a mathematician, or I'm into computers, I don't really have to read outside books. That's the wrong answer. Whether you are interested in disciplines such as political science, or American studies, or comparative literature, or if you're interested in computer science and engineering and math, reading for pleasure or reading on your own time is vital to being perceived as an intellectual and contributing citizen. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction, biography or expose. You need to show me that you're engaged in furthering your mind outside of your avocation and that you can talk with enthusiasm about the reading choices that you've made. I have more to continue. I'm not sure I'm engaging you. If this would be something you'd like to have me continue, I'm more to do so, or I'm happy to stop now, or I'm happy to take questions. Okay. Is that what you'd like to do? Would you all like me to stop now and then you can continue? I don't. Stop now. Okay. All right. We'll talk more later.
Whoever's interested in getting help writing their resumes, your bio data, come meet me there. The others stay here to meet Blair. He's fabulous, so stay here.